Tonight, I'm going to be talking about Jesus' greatest ministry, the ministry of his entire life, and what was really, really important in Jesus' walk on the earth. Now, obviously, the ultimate goal was to be the living sacrifice for you and I, so that we could have a place that he could lay his life down, that he laid his life down for us and made a way for us to get to heaven. But I think sometimes we make it a lot more complicated. This Christian life, we make it a lot more complicated than it actually is. And it's fairly simple. That Jesus' greatest ministry, Jesus always stopped for the one. He always left the 99 to stop for the one. And I think this is really, really important when we are saying yes to Jesus and what this looks like. Sometimes I think the complication of, I don't know what to do, I don't know who I am, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to spread the gospel, I don't know how to do this. We get all really confused because we get insecure about who we are. But God showed us an example of what ministry was like, what it looked like. And it was really simple. He stopped for the one. No matter how big or how little they were or what they were going through, he always stopped to see them. The second part of this is that he stops to see you too. It isn't just a foundation for us to live, but it's also a foundation for us to receive. So when we receive and then we turn around and give. And sometimes we get so confused. We look at someone like myself with the title pastor, and we think, oh, she's got it all together and I could never be that, or she doesn't, and whatever you think. But when we have a title on somebody, we tend to believe that we can't achieve that, or that we don't have, the qualifications, or we don't have whatever. And just because I'm given a platform tonight doesn't mean that I'm any more important than you or have any greater of a ministry than you. And we can see that in Jesus' life and how he lived on the 33 years that he was walking. We see the accounts of his life, and we see all of the areas of where he saw people. And this is, again, like I said, twofold, because if you need him to see you, he sees you. And then he wants you to turn around and see others. And evangelism and outreach and sharing the gospel doesn't have to be more complicated than just using the things that God gave us, the things that we have right in our midst, and to give it away. So I'm going to go over some of the people that he saw. And if you just think about the ordinary or maybe rejected nature of these humans that he stopped and saw, and he made them great. And think about kind of like, what did he do to do that? Was it some grand sermon on the side of a mount that caused these people's lives to change? Not necessarily. It was him stopping, looking, and seeing, and giving them a moment of time that changed them forever. Whether it was their hearts, their physical bodies, whatever it was that they needed greatly at that moment, he fed that, he met that need, and that is what changed them. And we get to be that to others as well, and it's really exciting. So the woman at the well, I know that Nick touched on this last Wednesday, but I think it's important to say that they were so the disciples were so amazed to find Jesus talking with her because of the strikes that were against her. She was this woman that we know that had multiple husbands. She was a Samaritan woman, and Jesus is sitting there at the well talking to her. And the scene that we saw out of The Chosen, if you haven't seen The Chosen, I highly recommend it. It's not like every single thing in The Chosen is exactly how it happened, but it's all biblically sound, and they put creative conversation with it. But it gives you a real life example as to, I came here for you. I stopped here at this well for you. And, she mattered to him. We walk by people all the time, and we probably they don't matter to us very much. In fact, we probably wish they weren't there all the time. In fact, they probably make us feel really irritated that they're in that location all the time. But it's kind of like, what does God want us to do? What does Jesus want us to do? He stopped and he saw. And then that was in John 4. In Mark 10, we find good old blind Bartimaeus, one of our favorite stories. Blind Bart, he couldn't see. He sat at the city gates for days and months and years on end, begging and begging. He probably was filthy. They didn't have showers, and he lived on the streets. He didn't know other than begging. He didn't know anything. But he heard. He used the sense that God gave him, that there was a commotion going on. So he used his words to yell out above the crowd. He knew something was going on. He was desperate. Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me, trying to yell above the crowd. Jesus didn't ignore him. He didn't shove him off. He didn't say, oh, there's blind Bart at the front of the gates yelling, screaming. No. He stopped and he saw. And because of Bartimaeus' desperation, he heard him. In Matthew 6, it says, your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Jesus knew what Bartimaeus needed. He knew it, and he gave attention to it. He stopped. What did that stopping and what did that seeing him do for Bartimaeus? He's named in the Bible forever and ever and ever. It even says that he followed him on the road and he started traveling with Jesus. But Jesus saw and he met a need. It really didn't take much for Jesus to do that either, right? He just heard and he responded. He used his ears and then he used his actions to respond. The Gentile woman with the demonized daughter in Matthew 15, she wasn't a Jew, but she was a real nuisance to the disciples. They were really irritated by her. Is there anyone in your life you're irritated by? Anyone? No? We're all good? Thank you for being honest, River. You're like the only one that raised your hand. Yes. No, so we have people, thank you. We have people in our lives that are super irritating and super annoying. And what do we do with those people? Ignore them or respond? Jesus responded to this woman. Even after the disciples said, send her away. Go get her out of here, Jesus. We don't have time for people like her. We do this all the time. And Jesus stopped. He saw her desperation. I somewhat know the understanding of this one a little bit. I didn't have a demonized daughter, but I had a daughter that was very sick. And what I wouldn't have given, in the physical to have Jesus in my midst, what I wouldn't have done to call out, to pester those disciples. Please let me see him. Please, he's got to come see my daughter. Please, she's going to die without him. If you put yourself in that position, you see the desperation, why she's willing to pester. Jesus stopped, and he saw her, and he healed her daughter. What I wouldn't have given for the physical to happen in that way with my life. We want to judge these people, but often we are the people. We are the annoying. We are the ones that people have pushed aside. We are the ones that haven't, no one stopped for us. But Jesus is. He's stopping for us. The woman with the bleeding problem or the bleeding disorder. Diorder. Okay. Spelling mistake, number one. Whatever. She was passionate and desperate to fight through the crowd. She had to fight through to get to where she needed to be was right next to Jesus. She didn't care what it took. She didn't care if she had to crawl through legs. She didn't care if she had to knock him over. She didn't care if she gets stepped on. She was so desperate for his touch. And she just touched him, knowing that if she could touch the hem of his garment, that healing would happen. What faith, man. And he felt it. Have you ever been in a crowd? A big crowd that is all clamoring around you specifically, maybe? Tons of people are touching you. But he felt the power come out of him. And it was enough for him to wait. Wait, everyone quiet. Someone touched me. The power came out. Someone needs me right now. Wait for it. And he searched her out. What if she was already healed at that point and that was all that she needed? What if her touching him was all that he didn't really have to recognize her, but he did. Because she needed it. She saw him. How many more people in that crowd needed to be seen? How many more people in that crowd needed to be known? She needed it, and Jesus knew it. He stopped and he saw her. The prostitute in Luke 7 that crashed the party, the Pharisee party, we think it's Mary Magdalene, but we're not exactly sure. But they wanted to toss her out. Like, really? You're going to let her come in here? Not only did Jesus let her come in, but he let her wash his feet. He let her cry her tears over his feet. He let her, because he knew in that moment, the repentance in that moment, that she needed to have restoration for her soul. She needed to be seen in that moment and to be known and to be welcomed into this home. Sometimes we're so ashamed of our lives, so ashamed of our decisions, we won't even go to that length. We won't go where we know we need help. She was willing to risk it all, even though she was possibly going to be tossed out of someone's home. She fell on his feet and she recognized his lordship. He recognized who she was and what she needed in that moment. The man with the legion of demons in Mark 5, he was on the outskirts of town. He was so dangerous to everyone around him and himself. But he called out to Jesus. Nobody stopped to see him. Nobody. You don't go near that guy. Do you know people in town that are crazy? We've all seen them. Do you know people in your area that are crazy? You stay far away from them. One gentleman, I went into Dollar Tree the other day, and he literally danced his way out of Dollar Tree with these side steps. And he was so gone. These people are so gone. They're running out in front of traffic. They're doing damaging things. The one time I felt the Lord ask me to go talk to this woman. She was in front of Smart and Final. And I was getting in my car, and I'm like, no, I'm going to go talk to her. So I went down and talked to her, and I sat on the ground with her. And I tried talking to her, and there was literally not one word that was even understandable. Like, she was saying words, but Jesus told her to be on Oradam for her son. And every time I mentioned Jesus, she went into this insane rhetoric that was like, it was crazy. People are crazy sometimes. They're doing things that are causing themselves to be crazy. Life has caused it. But this guy was so dangerous and so full of demonic oppression that nobody wanted to be around him. But Jesus saw him, went after him, and even responded to the demon's request to send the demons off the cliff and into the pigs. The guy was free, set free. Then there's Zacchaeus. Anybody know who Zacchaeus is? The short, for some reason they declare him very short in the Bible. A tax collector who climbs a tree to see Jesus in Luke 19. When Jesus sees him up there, he calls him by name. Jesus is coming into the city, calls him by name, and then basically says, yo, Zach, I'm coming over for dinner. Get on down. Like, I'm coming over for dinner. Let's go. And the disciples and everybody following is just like, dude, does Jesus not know who Zacchaeus is? He is a tax collector, and he has stolen from people, and he is not a kind man, and it wasn't something that a Jew would ever want to have a dinner with, let alone go to his house. But when he saw Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus' life was changed forever, even to the point of saying, I want to make right what I've done wrong 4 times over. Anyone that I have hurt or wounded or taken from, I want to repay them back 4 times more than what I took. Now that's life-changing. When Jesus and chaos come together and collide, he can make a beautiful story out of it. He can make a beautiful story out of you, and you can turn around and make a beautiful story out of someone else. It doesn't have to be this grand thing. Last but not least, in Mark 10, Jesus embraced the children, brought the children to him, didn't send them away. The disciples like, Jesus, come on. These are little kids. We don't pay attention to them. Don't you know? And Jesus like, no, you're missing the point. They are my chosen ones. They're the ones that are important. They're the weak that we have to protect. They're the ones that we have to call out to. They're the ones we have to embrace. Now, I think that every one of us can identify with one of these people, and there's so many more throughout the Bible, the New Testament, and how his Spirit called out to people too. We can all identify with some level of these people. He's in the people business. And sometimes, like I said, you feel like maybe sitting here that you have to have some sort of title or some sort of important role to make a difference. And the truth is, you absolutely don't. Are you a Christian? Did you say yes to Jesus? Has he changed your life, come into your life and into your heart and set you free? Then guess what? You qualify. Even if you're the most broken human in this room, you qualify to be someone who's used by Jesus and to set your world on fire. And I want to encourage you tonight, that every one of us have something to offer. Every one of us have something to give. None of us are negate from this. None of us are unqualified for this. Even if you're the most baby of a Christian, or even if you're just a good human, you have a heartbeat, you can still change your world around you. You can be in the Jesus people movement. You can change people's lives by seeing them, by putting your hand on them, by hugging them. You know, Jesus stopped. Do we stop for the one? Do we stop and see them? You know, when I was at the mud run, I was at the AV's Place booth, and, you know, it was hot and I was tired. I was doing a lot. And I was walking back and forth. And, you know, I really even made a point to just smile at the people I walked by from AV's Place booth to wherever I was going. I made a point to look people in the eye, because maybe just that one smile, that one moment in the midst of the hot and crazy, maybe that could do something for someone. I couldn't stop and talk to every single person there, but I could make eye contact, connect, and see them. And that was a split second, and it cost me nothing. Cost me nothing. It costs us nothing to walk this world and be Jesus, to be good people, to love. If you don't want to live for Jesus, that's on you. You get to decide that. But you can still be a world changer. You can still be a life giver. You can still be someone who gives hope. You can still be someone who gives joy. And so I want to ask you, what's your greatest asset? What's your greatest thing that you get to offer? Most people in here have arms? Hands, arms? Okay. I know you all have this. You all have a beating heart inside of you, correct? Otherwise, we're in trouble. Yeah. Okay. Pretty much everyone has feet or legs, right? We have eyes that maybe work or don't, just depends. You have ears, and most important asset you may have is your time. Every one of us have at least one of these. We all have a heart, know that. And we can use it for the glory of Jesus around us. Again, it doesn't have to be this grand degree that you have, knowledge that you have, life experience you have. I mean, you could have just straight come off the streets right now and still have something to give. So I want to be mindful about how we go about and we make disciples, how we go about and we be the change that we want to see in the world. How do we be at a very oppressing job and be the light of Jesus? Maybe your boss is somebody that is very, very hard to work with, but you know that they need coffee, or you know they eat this brand of gum. What would be the harm in just saying, hey, I was thinking about you today. I just got you this. It's your time, your energy for a moment. You just bless them because you saw them. You keep your eyes and your ears open for things that maybe mean something to them. It doesn't have to be all lovey-dovey. It just has to be see the person. See the person and be someone in their life that can change them. So the ability to see people is to use your gifts and the talents that God's given you. And a lot of times it's in the form of physical gifts. He wants to use your day-to-day life to change people. He also wants to use the people in your life to change you. So it's this domino effect, to be changed and to change, to be changed, to change, to allow God to use the people around you to help pour into you. And then the idea of a fountain is very apropos to this concept. The water comes out, goes in, comes out, goes in, and it recirculates. It can't give out what it's not being given. If the water at the bottom is gone, a fountain dries up, there's no water to give out. So it has to be this perpetual giving and receiving, giving and receiving. I think sometimes we can be so distracted and think that we're so busy. You know, life is so busy. It has so much chaos involved. It has so many things that really distract us from this concept, but it's really simple and it can change the world. It can absolutely change your world. So I want to challenge you to have the same heart as Jesus, or to have the same heart as people that have helped you, have seen you, have changed your life. I want to challenge you to stop for people. How can you start? How can you start, and what is your greatest gift? Maybe it's determine what you have to give. Maybe right now you have something. What is it? You have hands. Okay, I can serve. Maybe that's as far as you can go right now. Maybe you are someone who can go a little further, and you can really start to understand this concept and give more. So that's the first place, is to determine what you have to give. And again, it can be just as practical as you have a mouth that opens and closes and a voice that you can give someone a compliment once a day. I don't know. You have to ask the Lord for that, okay? So what is the next thing? What is your greatest asset? Where can you start seeing people? Let's go to the next slide, please. What holds you back? What holds you back from being that to somebody? It's very, very important. Are you insecure? Do you really hate talking to people? Okay, you don't have to talk to them. I'm not saying talk to everybody. Seeing someone doesn't require you to talk to them, right? Being something for someone doesn't require you to actually talk to them. But what is it that is holding you back? You don't think you have anything to offer? Everybody has something. You don't know how to engage in people? Okay, start small. And what if they want more than you can offer? Well, then bring them to someone who can offer what they need. You can be a conduit that leads somebody to something more than what you have, because we all have gifts, remember? Okay, next slide. The next question is, are you willing? Determine if you're willing and what that yes looks like or that no looks like. Yeah, I'm willing. I don't know where to start, but I'm willing. And that is a first step in the right direction. Next slide. Who in my life do I need to start seeing? Who is it and where? So do I have people in my job that I really need to start looking at and seeing, going beyond it doesn't have to be about Jesus either. It can just literally be engaging them in conversation. Maybe you don't know who they are. You don't know their life. On your break, maybe you can say, hey, tell me about yourself. I don't actually really know you. What if that action by itself changes someone's life? No one's ever really asked me that, actually. Getting to know people. Your family. Do you have children? Spouse? Do you have family, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, something like that you know that you have a hard time with? Maybe you're the one put in their life so that you can bring them joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. And then they're everyday people at the gas pump, the annoying beggars on the side of the road, the people that are just irritating, the takers in society, the low of the low. Do we need to start seeing them or just continue to walk by them? Next slide. And will you give him your yes? Will you give him your yes? Can I get the piano player up here, whoever's on piano? And this question is really important because it starts with a yes. Lord, use me. I don't know, again, what that looks like, but I know how to cook. I guess I could make something for somebody. I know my neighbor. It's really just opening up your world and asking Jesus to open up your world so that you can be him to the world. And it starts small. So give Jesus permission to use you. Give him your heart. And then give him your yes. I feel very strongly that some people in the room are just terrified of even this idea or concept. First and foremost, I want to invite you into a relationship with Jesus. That he wants to stop for you. That he wants you to know that you're the one that he wants to stop for. Some of us need to start there, and we need to say yes to him. We need to say yes to his calling. We need to say yes to him seeing you. There's some people in the room that have spent a lifetime trying to be hidden. There are some people in the room that have said, I will never be seen because it hurts too much. So you've been running. So now you're stuck because you don't know. You don't know how to surrender your life to Jesus because he's going to see you. Jesus can heal that today. Dare to believe that he wants to set you free. Dare to believe that he wants to give you good things. That's my first call tonight. Do you want to say yes to Jesus in your heart? Give him a place to live in your heart. Jesus says all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. There's a place for you. He leaves the herd, he leaves the 99, and he comes for you. He's coming for you right now. He's saying, will you say yes to me? Thanks for watching the Father's House Orville YouTube channel, but don't stop there. We'd love you to subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a live service or a video. Help us spread the message of Jesus by sharing this video with your friends. You can also support the Father's House financially by clicking the Give button. Thanks again for watching today, and we hope to see you again soon.